So, as my taste in anime have refined as I've gotten older, I feel like there's a few genres that really click with me, or that I feel like the medium really tends to do well, or has a lot to say about. And for me, those are high concept science fiction, so stuff like Ghost in the Shell or Evangelion, traditional Western style fantasy, so stuff like Goblin Slayer or Record of Lodoss War or Delicious in Dungeon, I really like. And finally, kind of classic samurai warring states period Japanese fantasy or action adventure story. So stuff like Samurai Champloo, and this, as well as the game Sekiro from FromSoft, which very, very heavily influenced that game. This anime did, which is Dororo, which is originally based off of a manga, or started actually back in the 1960s, but it's a quite simple story, but told very well. I finished it last night. I thought it was quite excellent and well worth your time. If you want an anime that's pretty action focused, not really heavily on anything like fan service or filler, if you want kind of an adventure but still an overarching story, I think I would highly recommend it. So, the basic premise is that takes place at the start of the Warring States period. So I think the late 16th century, when the various feudal states of Japan are all warring with each other, and there's lots of famines and blights, and there's also demons attacking. This has supernatural elements in it as well. And the Lord of the Lands of Daigo, Kagemitsu Daigo, decides his land is facing famine and is under attack by neighboring clans. He will offers his firstborn son up to the demon gods, to 12 demon gods, in exchange for peace, stability, and prosperity to his land. And so when his firstborn, Hyakimaru, is born, he's born basically with no arms, no legs, no eyes. He can't see or hear or smell. All he is basically just like a skinless head with a body. And he gives it to his wife, Nue, and she kind of, in a way similar to Moses, being given by the princess of Egypt into the Sea of Reeds, or into the reeds, puts him into the river. Or no, Moses' mother did that, sorry. And he was adopted by the Egyptian royal family. But very similar to this, Hyakimaru, it kind of drifts down the river and is eventually picked up by a man named Jukai, who is a prosthetic maker, who, again, very similar to Sekiro, where you have the sculptor that makes Sekiro's prosthetic arm. But he takes the baby, Hyakimaru, and he builds him in a similar way to kind of like Pinocchio, where he's like the Geppetto figure, where he kind of helps turn him into a real boy by giving him prosthetic eyes, ears, arms, and legs, and teaches him how to fight. So he becomes very prolific at, wielding swords, and even though he can't see or hear, he can sense kind of the spiritual energy of people around him. And so about 15, 16 years pass. Daigo has had a second son, Toihomaru, who is now his presumptive heir, and Hyakumaru runs into the titular Dororo, who is a young, at first we think it's a boy, but it is revealed that she's actually a young girl who is orphaned by all the war and is just kind of trying to scam people and is a pickpocket, and they kind of form a very tight friendship. And she kind of acts as the exposition for the show because Hyakimaru also can't speak initially. So you kind of need somebody to explain the plot and explain the emotions of everything. And at first she starts off as annoying, but she does end up becoming quite endearing. But anyways, for the most part, for the majority of the anime, which is about 24 episodes, Dororo and Hyakimaru are traveling through the land, killing the demon gods that essentially stole his body parts, and he's slowly getting his various body parts back. So, in one episode, he'll get a leg back, and in another one, he will get his sense of eyesight back, or his sense of smell back, And it kind of and along with that, we also have a third character, a tertiary character, who can also kind of see spirits, along with Hyakimaru, who is this old blind monk, who just kind of appears every now and then to kind of give more sage advice. And we also see Jukai. We know initially he was serving with the samurai and committed horrible atrocities, killing innocent people, crucifying people, basically. And he's just trying to make up for it. And he will now just wander along battlefields and attach prosthetics to dead bodies. And I think in a way to try and give their spirits more peace by making them at least bodily whole. But anyways, as Hyakimaru keeps killing demons and gets his body parts back, the land of Daigo is starting to suffer, or they notice in the temple, the Hall of Hell, where the demon gods have statues, that they started cracking. And so Kagemitsu Daigo, his father, starts getting worried that, oh no, is he actually alive? And eventually they cross paths again when there's a demon in the middle of Daigo that both Hyakimaru and Tohomaru, who I like as a character because he's not... They could have very easily made him a very bratty, selfish, spoiled child, but he's also very honorable and just kind of wants to... He's trying to be the most dutiful, ideal son that he can and cares about the land. And initially they get along, but then when it's revealed who these people are and they know who each other are, they've kind of swear to become enemies. And Hyakimaru kind of now hates his family for what they did to him, which is fairly justified. But following this, I'm not really going to get into the specifics of each kind of episodic episode where, it's just a various interesting way that the demons have kind of taken over a village or a town or a small area. And it's along one of the major themes of the show, and I think the main theme is kind of not to make a Faustian bargain, because everybody that either makes a deal with a demon or gets involved with it, life just seems to become infinitely worse than whatever problems that they were dealing with prior. So even though the land of Daigo may have been starving and had a famine, in the end everything ends up worse because of the bargain that Daigo made, both for him and everybody else. And it also shows, like, the humans themselves can turn into demons, essentially, as they become consumed by rage and hatred and vengeance. So there's that kind of moral angle to the story. But anyways, things kind of come to a head when Hyakimaru has gained most of his body parts back except for his arms and his eyes. And what's kind of funny is he has prosthetic hands or arms, and underneath his forearms he has like hidden katana blades, so he kind of fights just by swinging his arms around. And it ends up with, spoilers, he finally has a confrontation with Tohomaru and Daigo, as a neighboring clan is going to war with them. And there's just this kind of beautiful and tragic fight scene at the very end in Daigo's castle, which is now caught on fire. But at the end, Hyakimaru is kind of turning into a demon himself. There's an interesting kind of visual or a analog for it, where the land of Daigo is going to war, and they kind of conscript this beautiful white horse to be part of their army. And in an effort to try and kill Hyakimaru, they just like attach a bunch of explosives to the horse and have it charge at him. And so just kind of carelessly throwing, and him and the horse get thrown down into this ravine where there's just a mountain of corpses from all the battles that have been happening. And the spirit of the horse kind of also turns into a yokai or a demon. And so Hyakimaru is riding on this flaming horse, and he's almost lost all of his humanity. But thankfully, at the end, his humanity breaks through and he does not kill Tohomaru. but Tohomaru dies in the fire along with his mother and Jukai, which I would criticize because they kind of could have easily escaped from the burning castle, but thematically it makes sense, and it also makes sense again as Lord Daigo, um, to show that Lord Daigo loses not just like his land's going to fall into famine anyway, but because of his actions, now everybody around him is dead. Uh, but yeah, he does finally gain back all of his senses and his full body, and the demons are defeated. And so I'm happy that thematically and from a narrative standpoint, the story, and this does happen a lot in anime where the ending kind of everything falls apart. But in this one, thankfully, the ending is quite satisfying. Of all the loose ends end up getting tied up, the demons are defeated. Hyakimaru just has to kind of go off on his own for a while, but then will eventually reunite with Dororo, who is kind of now working with the villages around Daigo of, hey, let's try and rebuild this. Let's try and rebuild our lands. And there's a secret story with Dororo's past where his father and mother were part of a bandit clan, and kind of Robin Hood-esque, because there's a big theme in the show of how bad and evil the samurai are, which I guess that's the kind of the liberal take or perspective you have, because this was made in the 60s and 70s, so it's a post-war era Japan. A lot of the themes are going to be on how horrible war is and kind of, oh, the evil nobility and samurai got us into all of this mess. And because that's another great theme, is that there's so many orphans of war throughout the show. Dororo is one of them. And his father managed to get a huge amount of money stored in treasure, and he essentially tattooed the treasure map on his wife's back, who then put it on Dororo's back. And they do eventually find the treasure, and that's kind of what Dororo decides, well, I can't really use all of this myself. I'm going to help use it to rebuild the land of Daigo, since the demons are all dead and the land's been destroyed by war. But yeah, I would highly recommend the anime. There's a great kind of mini arc where one of Dororo's dad's friends, Itachi, is also searching for the treasure and kind of kidnaps Dororo. And they're out on a boat and they're just trying to make their way to find where the treasure is. And there's another guy who made a pact with the demons and kind of lost his humanity and lost his mind, who I just call him Shark Guy, where he fed his arm to two shark demons and now kind of rides them, and they kind of eat half of the crew or half of Itachi's band, and then but Dororo and Hitachi and the rest manage to kill the other one, and then Hyakimaru kills the second one. But yeah, so many. I like the theme that the people that end up making pacts with demons end up becoming more demonic themselves. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the show. I would highly recommend it. The fight scenes are really good. The animation's very fluid and there's a lot of spectacle to it when they're fighting. Voice acting for the English dub isn't too terrible. I do tend to prefer dubs. I know people crucify me for that, but I like to watch anime, not read it. But yeah, I would highly recommend it. The background artwork is beautiful. The character design is really good. And yeah, if you're looking for a solid adventure action with a good kind of set of morals to it, I would highly recommend Dororo. So yeah, check it out.